Hello, hello, welcome in. Happy to see everybody. Whitney with Girl Friday Crafts and doing, getting back to my coffee crafts and chat, or coffee chat and crafts. I call it different things every single time, but getting back to this series. And I'm going to make some cards this morning. So I have doing a make and take for an event in a couple weeks, and I need to get the card samples to them so they can start to promote it. And I was like, well, if I have to make them anyway, that might as well be what I'm doing this morning. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm just making sure like I'm in all the places that I'm supposed to be, because I'm streaming on Facebook and YouTube, and I don't know why I can't open the live on YouTube, but I'll worry about that in a minute. So welcome in. I forgot to put show notes in. I was prepping for the show, getting everything together, and then got completely sidetracked, and then all of a sudden it's 10 after 10, and yeah, it happens. There's some stuff in my shop. I don't have any show notes up. You can follow me on all social media as Girl Friday Crafts. And I'm going to watch the comments on my computer, or at least I'm going to try to, because I need to angle this down some so y'all can see what I'm doing. So I have 3 different options, sort of, I think, that I'm going to make available to people for the make and take. And why is this not working? So I'm going to make all 3 samples and then kind of decide what I'm going to do, because sometimes when I make them, I realize like, no, this is way too complicated for something that people want to sit down and be able to do in like 5 minutes. So that's also part of the playing around with this. Okay, I need to give up the ghost on this because it's not cooperating with me. There we go. Okay, I'm trying to open the YouTube streams because I want to be able to see comments, but my iPad is not cooperating. So good morning, welcome in. Thanks for joining this morning. The first one I'm gonna do, I also got to play around and see what the right size card is. So the first one I'm gonna do is one that I saw on a Facebook reel, and I mean that's where I get most of my inspiration for craft stuff lately comes from Facebook reels. My whole Facebook like saved videos is nothing but reels. I don't think this 6x6 card is going to work for this, so we're going to use this one. Get my bone folder, and I'm actually hoping that this card is going to be big enough. So this is just a card, just my card base. I think this is 4x6. Happy Friday. Is it the Bougie Crafter? I love that. Happy Friday to you too. That's a great name. So this is 5 3/4 by almost 4. And okay, I'm going to try one more time to open up. Is it really doing it because I have it like this? Open up the YouTube live stream. Okay, well, that's going to annoy me. So if you're watching on YouTube, I apologize. I cannot get the live stream to open up on my iPad, so I can't see in the chat. So come on over into WhatNot if you have questions or comments, and join us over here. So this card involves this hexagon stamp from Stampin' Up, although you can get hexagon stamps from other places. This one is a little bit bigger than the ones that I've seen on at Michael's and things like that. What are you doing? There we go. And so we're just going to make some hexagons with various colors. You can alternate patterns or solid. You want to make sure that you have at least one solid color for this because you're going to stamp your sentiment on that. And that's going to be a little bit easier to do if you've got solid colored paper. Use this one. And I'll have all kinds of options for people. These samples are mostly just for design possibilities. Let's see. More purple. More purple. What's on that side? Ooh, I like it. That's pretty. Also, the reason I like double-sided paper. And I think this one is about 5. Right. 4, because then what you do is you stamp or you cut a hexagon out of the card itself. And then you can use that as one of your options. So as you're getting ready to start on the card looks like this. So you have a hexagon cut out. And then you're going to place your pieces in various places on the card. So I'm going to use some zip dry. I usually like to use score tape with cards, but when I'm teaching a class, glue actually goes a little faster. Now you can place these when you're doing this however you want. Kind of follow along with what the video I watched kind of had. Oh, I need a lighter. I'm gonna need a lighter color, solid. Solid piece. So we're gonna throw a little green in here. And when I stamp, I like to hold the stamp upside down just so I can make sure that I'm getting the stamp completely on the page. Hi from Indiana. Hello, welcome from Indiana. I am in Central Illinois. Well, I'm actually from Louisville, Kentucky, but I live in Central Illinois, so not really an Illinois girl. I just live here. I'm not really a doctor. I just play one on TV. Although I have lived out of Kentucky for more than half my life, so there's that. And then this one is going to go right here. And then some of these pieces are going to go off the edge of the card, but you're just going to trim those off. How's the weather in Indiana? It's nice here finally. The rain is over. Of course, well, it rained a little bit this morning, but we have moved past the torrential downpours that we were getting. And I think it's supposed to be nice this weekend. Okay, I'm kind of overthinking this. Hello, beautiful, finally. Yep, I was talking. So most of my family still lives in Louisville, and I was talking to my sister yesterday, and the first thing out of her mouth when we got on the phone was, "I am so tired of all the rain." I get that, because that's how we were a couple of weeks ago. All right, so I put glue on the bottom of this, and I didn't need to. wipe that off or it's going to be a problem. There we go. That way I can at least turn this back facing down. And then we're going to put that one there. Actually, I think I'm going to flip that and use that side. Anybody have any big plans for the weekend? I am doing a different make and take tomorrow at an event at the same location, and then teaching a class on Sunday. So it's going to be a crazy weekend for me. All good. It'll be fun. And then next Saturday is another event with the cards. So that's what that's for. Push that down like that. I've got some glue off the edge. It's okay. I just don't want to get it all over my scissors. Alright, so then I'll take my scissors, my little scissors, and we're going to flip the card over so you can kind of see. And we're just going to cut off these extra pieces here. Maybe. Just like that. And then you can save these pieces, which I might, because I do a lot of cards with paper scraps, so if they're big enough, I might save it. So like this little piece I'm not going to save. He would get lost in everything, and I would forget that it was there. And trim this way. And then a little bit this way. The trick is to not cut the card itself. So then you've got that. Hello, hello. And then we're going to take this piece and you're going to glue it here in that opening that we made in the card itself. Kind of make sure it stays lined up. This zip dries pretty fast, but you do have a little bit of a window to move some things around. And so now when you open the card, you've got that. And then this would be where you would stamp your sentiment. I didn't pull out any stamps or anything because I'm going to have various options for people at the make and take, whether they want it to be a Mother's Day card or just a spring card or a birthday card. So I'm going to have different things there for options for them. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to add a little ribbon right there. So I'm going to take some yellow. I need to get, this bag is full of satin ribbon, which is not my favorite for this kind of stuff. So I need to go through and find all of my grosgrain or twine. But this will do for the sample. Just a little dot of glue there. Maybe a little too much glue there. That's my problem. I always end up using too much glue. And other reason I don't like satin ribbon is that I don't feel like it sticks as well. That's satiny finish makes it kind of difficult. Like that is not sticking at all. Okay, not that one. What have I got in here? Do I have twine? Ooh, this will be cute. We'll use this instead. This should stick. And if I can't get it to stick with glue, then we will go with my score tape. Okay. And see if I can just use the zip dry that's already on there. Not completely dry, but it's better than the satin was. And so you have that. And then you can, you know, angle the edges of the ribbon, or, you know, fold them in half and make them look like a little bit like a flag. And you can put whatever you want on this. It doesn't have to be the sentiment. You could stamp a little design, or even use a smaller cutout of paper and layer on that. And then when you open it up, you can put your sentiment on the inside. So lots of options there. So I feel like that's going to be a good one for a make and take, because I'll have some of these hexagon pieces punched out already, but I'll have paper that people can use as well, and kind of pick their own color schemes and things like that. So that's the first one. The second one, we're going to use this, and I'm going to play around with that with this 6x6 card base, because I have a bunch of those in some pretty colors, just to figure out how many hexagons I might need and how to lay them out. I do think on this one, when I do this again, I would want to take this hexagon a little closer to the edge so that there was a little more space between these two. But again, it's, you know, it's fine. It's cute. That's the point. So the other thing that I like to do is I keep, so this bag is all paper scraps. So when I cut paper for something, I will keep the strips. So like if I'm cutting a piece of paper down for a card or a scrapbook page or something like that, I'll keep the excess paper, and then I use it for cards. And one of my favorite ways to do that is just lay the cards in strips diagonally across the card base, glue them down, and then you close the card up and cut like all the way around. Good morning. Thank you for hopping in. Whitney with Girl Friday Crafts, and I am making some sample cards for a make and take event that I am in next weekend. So I need to get them some samples today so we can start promoting that event. And I like to do this with like no set color scheme, all different sizes of the paper, just kind of all over the place. And I usually start from the middle, because you got to have one long strip that will go from end to end. So that's kind of usually my starting off point, to make sure that I get those ends covered. And if I don't have a strip that long, then I will cut one. But I often have a strip already cut if I dig far enough. I dig hard enough. I think that one, oh, so close. So close. Okay, so I need something longer than this. Really? In this whole entire pile. I do not have anything. Okay, where's my diagonal? So then we just make one. That's okay. Let's see. This on the diagonal is at least 7 inches. All right. Oh, that's right. Okay. I have like 5 projects happening all at one time, and all on my desk right now. So it is a big mess. But that is kind of the story of my life at the moment. Right, so we're going to cut a piece. Actually, I'm going to cut a couple pieces just in case. Not that way. This way. Not that way. This way. There we go. Cut a couple of longer pieces. Just in case I need them. I'm going like a ½ an inch shorter each time. Okay, so this is my, make sure I had it nice and long so that it would really fit on this diagonal. And on this, I'm going to use my, I'll use the glue. I need to practice with the glue because that's what I need to use in the class. So I'm just going to put a little glue down. You can also put the glue on the card base itself. Are you really going to do this to me already? As opposed to on the paper so that you have your precise location. It's going to be kind of my middle-ish strip there. And then a lot of times when I do this, I'll have to go around like the edges when I'm done and, you know, maybe add a little more glue here and there. And then go this way. So I'm going to do this way this time. Put the glue on the card base. And, you know, the zip dry dries clear, which is really nice because if you have a little too much and it peeks out in between your strips, you really won't be able to see it. Hello, hello, thanks for joining. And I'm going to use some skinnier strips here and try to get a little more color on here. And then the other thing that I'm going to attempt to do today, in using the scraps is I want to make one where the pattern on the card is a herringbone-ish. I really tried that before, so we're going to be brave. I'm going to try it today, which might end up frustrating the heck out of me because I'm not, like I can see it in my head, but that doesn't always mean I can figure out how to make it happen in reality. So if you are watching on YouTube, I apologize because I, for some reason, cannot get the live feed to pull up on, hey, there we go. Okay, now I can see the live feed. I apologize. For my folks watching on YouTube, I couldn't get the live feed to pull up earlier. So it's finally pulled up now. So thank you. Hello and hello. Okay, so now we're going to start working this way. And I might have to end up cutting, oh, wait, another piece. Because I might not have an actual scrap. Well, that'll work. Yeah, that'll work. Long enough to go end to end this way. But this is a great thing, you know, if you're a paper crafter, if you're a scrapbooker, actually if you do decoupage, junk journaling, and you are looking for ways to use up your paper scraps, this is a fun way to do it because the cards are easy to make. They don't take very long. I mean, I'm not moving really quickly with it because I have this massive pile of scraps in front of me that I'm digging through. And like I said, I like to do these with like no rhyme or reason, but you can, you know, stick to a color scheme, so you can take all of your, you know, blue scraps and make a card. If you have paper scraps from holiday or seasonal paper projects, then you can make cards that way. And hold this in. And then what I usually do is I will take one of my punches and use a solid color and add a circle or a square or some sort of shape on the top and stamp a design on it, or use a sticker or some form of embellishment. So you can put the sentiment on the front, you can put the sentiment on the inside. You do a little bit of both. This would be fun if I have any fellow Scrappy Boy stamps folks watching at this point or later. This would be fun if you have scraps from their paper packs from another project. You can make a card with that, and then if you have one of their colored die cuts from whatever the paper pack was from, or you know, stamp from whatever the paper pack was from, you could put that on the front. Add that, you know, to kind of tie in there. I'm going to cut this one in half because I don't want to end up wasting that whole entire piece. Put that on there. Having multiple sizes of paper trimmers is nice. This little one is good, particularly for card making and things like this, because it's a little bit easier to maneuver. Okay. And then I'm just going to need one little piece for that, for that top corner. Actually, that'll work. I have this little piece from the hexagon card that I just did, so that'll fit right there. And I'll just trim off. Put that there. Little dab of glue. I'm going to do that on that side. And it's kind of funny. Oh, I gotta do that bottom corner there too. I almost forgot. When I started doing this, and especially just really kind of a hodgepodge of scraps and just a little bit of everything, I was kind of like, okay, that I'm not really sure I like kind of how that looks. And then I did the first one that I ever made, and I trimmed the edges off, and then it was all just left on the paper. I was like, okay, that's actually really very cute. And so that's kind of been where I go with it ever since. I'm gonna get this glued down and hold this up and show y'all what this looks like. Keep getting glue on my fingers. I feel like I'm in school. This is gonna sound crazy to anybody who's ever done it, but if you know, you know. When we used to put Elmer's glue on our fingers and then let it dry and peel it off. Or rubber cement. That's what I feel like I'm doing right now. Okay, that little piece is going to be, paper has a little bit of a texture to it. So this is what it looks like right now. All those little pieces stuck off the edge everywhere. So we're going to do the same thing that we did with the other card. And you're just going to go along the edge. And you're going to trim off all the excess. Trying not to cut the card itself. I try to do this with the card upside down so I can see where the paper meets the edge of the card. That's just sort of my way of doing it. You don't have to do it that way. Hello, hello. How is everybody doing? Thanks for hopping in. I'm making some card samples for a make and take. So I have a make and take coming up next weekend, and I need to get some samples to the location so they can include them in the event promo. And so I needed to get these done today, and I wanted to get back. I haven't done a coffee craft and chat for a while now. And so I've decided to incorporate. Oh, actually, I have a question. So do I have any sellers? Do I have any WhatNot sellers watching? So I have a question. So if you are a WhatNot seller, I would love to know what you'd think about this idea. So I've been hanging out in some of the new seller chats because I'm a relatively new seller. I've only had 2 actual sales. I've done this coffee craft and chat for a while now, but I've only had 2 actual sales. And the new seller chats are amazing and very, very helpful. And I have nothing to offer in terms of help on, okay, so I'm going to pause that idea. So this is what it looks like now. And I think it just looks so different because when you have all of the pieces sort of sticking out on the edges, it just looks weird. But then when you cut it all down and it's just, you know, fits neatly to the card, I think it looks really cool. So, you know, I don't have anything to offer in terms of a new seller chat around shipping or anything like that because I've not been doing this long enough. But I'm also in the WhatNot Facebook group, and there's a lot of, I mean, people get nervous about doing their first show. And part of me wonders if some of the nervousness is about talking to people and, you know, it's almost like public speaking, right? And if you've never done any of that, then this can be nerve-wracking. I've been a professional trainer my whole entire life, for like 20 something years. And so I was considering starting a new seller chat around presentation skills and being on camera and getting comfortable with that. And I just didn't know like if there would be, is that a dumb idea? Would there be an appetite for that? I mean, I can obviously try it and see if there would be an appetite for that, but I was just curious about that from other sellers. And I might put that in the seller Facebook group too and see what people think. But I feel like that's a way that I could contribute to the community. So this is one of the hexagon pieces that I cut out for the other card. So I'm just going to pop it on top of there. And I wonder, ooh, I have another idea. And you could, like I said, you could put your sentiment right there. I'm going to do something different with it. I'm going to take this. Oh, let's see. I need a solid color. I really want purple, but that's the only solid I have. So purple it is. So I'm going to take this dragonfly stamp and oops, I gotta do this. Take this dragonfly stamp. Maybe. Or punch, not stamp. Okay, why is this not working? Okay. Take my dragonfly punch. Okay. What in the world? I mean, I know I haven't used this in a while, but come on. Well, I was going to take this dragonfly punch and punch out a dragonfly and put it on top of there. But we are having a user error issue here somehow. Cannot tell me that this punch will not cut through this paper. Alright, I'm gonna find another, just let me see if I can get this to work on this. Well, that would actually be interesting and pretty, but not really the look I was going for. But I'll try. Okay, well that cut. Wow. Hard time believing that that punch would not go through that cardstock. I know it was thick, but okay. Since I went through all that effort to punch it out, we're going to put it on the card. So this is cute. So I might have to go look for some other, like if I can find a toadstool stamp, a mushroom stamp. Those really, mushrooms are a thing right now. And some other shapes, because most of the shapes I have are just like circles and squares. So I wanted that to be dark purple. I originally started to cut that out of dark purple, but my punch and the paper weren't cooperating. And then you could add a little ribbon to this like we did on the other one. All right, so that's the first one. So that's going to be one option that they have. And then that's the second one. I might have to cut some, make sure that I have longer paper scraps already cut. My dogs are saying hi. I'm not sure if you all can hear that. What time is it? Okay, so I have maybe about 20 more minutes. So we're going to attempt, this herringbone thing. I'm already questioning the decision. I'm going to pull something up real quick so I have something to kind of look at. I pulled it up the other day. And just to give me kind of a design, we have flooring that's laid out in a herringbone pattern. And I mean, it's really just a series of triangles. It's just a matter of where to start. Okay, I'm sorry, y'all. I gotta grab my dog. Sorry, I don't care for momentary pause. But I think the question that, I mean, obviously I'm gonna, you know, answer for myself in this is whether or not I can do this the way I've done the others and get all the pieces down and just trim around the edges, or am I going to have to trim as I go? Or do I need to start from the bottom and work my way up? Now that's an interesting. So, like, that would be my first kind of intersection that it would probably have to come over a little more. This might not have been the best form to do this. I apologize. Or maybe I need to use smaller pieces. Maybe smaller pieces make more sense. So I think we have that. And then we have that, right? So for anybody who's just joining who was like, what in the ever-loving hell is she doing? I am attempting to create a herringbone pattern on this card base using paper scraps. So I'm trying to get a somewhat idea of how to lay this out before I start gluing stuff down. Okay, so that is essentially what it needs to look like. So like this next, oh, that's what he was barking at. I was trying to figure out what the dog was barking at, but the mowers are here. That would be what he was barking at. And so it needs to come up like this. So like each little corner needs to meet up like that. But then the question is, how do I spread it out across the whole card? Which I'm not going to sit here and make you all watch me troubleshoot this. Because that's not entertainment. I mean, maybe it is. I don't know. It could be highly entertaining to sit here and watch me try to do this. I think the thing, right, is to figure out what is your starting point. So do you start from the center? Like, does this make more sense? To start from the center? And work my way out like that. I think that makes the most sense. And then just continue to build it up to get the edges filled in. Okay. So before I completely lose the visual here, oh, come on. What in the world? And of course now my zip dry is going to be difficult. Come on. There we go. Okay. I'm going to get these pieces laid down. And then I've got about 15 minutes before I need to jump off. So now that I have a sense of what I'm actually trying to accomplish here and how to get there, might actually keep going. Yeah, so we'll see. So thanks for hanging in here with me as I process through this. And we're going to put these pieces back where they were supposed to go, and I'm going to hold that piece in place because this strip of glue has to go along that. I think the hardest part about this is making sure that the pieces aren't just flush on the long end, but flush on the short end so that they make those triangles or make those peaks. That piece is somewhat glued down already just from the glue that I put down on the other part. So we're just going to pick it up some, put a little more glue under there, and drop that down. Now this is probably not something I would do at a make and take. This might be more of a class because then I have a little bit more time to help people one-on-one and a little bit more time to walk people through the process, which is why I like to try to kind of test everything out before I do it. Although I had an epic fail in a class about a month ago. We made little honeycomb bunnies out of book pages. I have a YouTube video on it. And, you know, I made it first because I'm like, I can't teach this without making it. And in the class, I completely messed them up. I had them glue stuff together in the completely wrong place, and we could not get the bunnies to open up correctly. So that was a lesson to me. They were all very gracious about it. I made it right with them in terms of, the fact that they paid for a class and walked out without what they came for. And I did have one person reach out to me about a custom order, so I didn't drive everybody. And, not everybody was like, oh, yeah, no, we're done with her. But that was definitely a lesson to me. Like paper crafting and things like that, I can teach that stuff without having to like really practice much. But the whole bunny thing was very new to me. I was like, yeah, okay. When I am branching out into something that different, really need to make it more than once, or write out the process. I was like, why did I not just simply type this out? Oh, I don't want to do that. Don't want to. There we go. Nope, don't want to do that either. There we go. So I'm trying to make sure I don't, not really necessarily like a true pattern, but I don't want to put like solid next to solid, pattern next to pattern. I want to break those lines up a little bit and get some color variation in here. So yeah, so that was definitely I could have at least written it out. Like that would have been really helpful. So, lesson learned, and it's fine. I mean, no permanent damage done or anything. But that's back to what I was originally saying. Part of the point for me in making stuff ahead of time is to figure out, is this something that's going to work for a class, or are there just, or a make and take, or are there just way too many moving pieces and it's really more of a class? And even in that respect, is it a one class kind of situation, or is it a multiple class situation? Hello, thanks for joining. Mickey Mouse stole all of my money. I love that. I love that, and it is so true. So I am making some card samples for a make and take for a class, for an event that I am participating in next weekend. And I am attempting to do a herringbone pattern in this card design. I think I have it kind of figured out. Now I'm just figuring out how to lay out the paper, like what colors, trying to alternate between color paper and pattern paper, trying to make sure I don't have too much of the same color all in one place, that sort of thing. But I have way more strips of patterned paper in this pile of scraps than I do colors. So actually we'll use this, it's cute. And then I've made 2 cards so far, which I will show you all in 1 second. And we got interrupted by my dog. Just the story of my life. They'll be perfectly quiet, not make a sound until I decided to go live. And then of course I didn't realize that my husband had started a meeting. So when he first started barking, I just kind of let him go for a second, thinking he might quiet down. By the time I got up to go get him, my husband had already jumped off his meeting. So, oops. Completely forgot that the mowers were coming today, which is exactly what he was barking at. So we've got this one little piece here, and then I'm going it's going to take some okay, so I'm realizing, okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and trim down the edges here, because I'm realizing that despite all of my reconfiguring this to see where I should start it, don't think I started it in quite the right spot, and I'll show you why in just 1 second. And then I'll show you all the cards that I did earlier. We're just trimming off the edges. That little bitty last piece is not glued down all the way. I'm going to leave that be for a minute. Let that zip dry a little bit more. Or maybe what I needed to do was use a thinner piece of paper for my very first the very first piece that I put down, because I don't have an angle to work off of anymore to fill up the other side of the card. Okay, so I've got this much going, but what I needed to do was probably really start here, because as I go to fill up this side and the rest of this side, there's not going to be a place where the two meet. I'm off center, which I don't really care about, but it's not going to finish out that herringbone design, adding in paper on these two corners. It's also bigger than what I wanted. I wanted more of the herringbone pattern, which also makes me wonder if I should have started this way and had it go across the card this way as opposed to this way. So we'll try that again. So there's things like, I mean, I can just fill in these corners with just paper and it'll be fine. Drop a little something on the front here with a stamp or a sentiment and it'll be okay. So yeah, but this is definitely not a make and take type of card. This is more of a class card. So that's good for me to know. That's good for me to know. So I will finish that out. So real quick, if I can find them because they are now buried in, oh no, here they are. So this is one that I made. This is just laying strips of scrap paper all the way across the card and then cutting down around the edge. And then this is the other one. Where'd it go? So you cut out hexagon shapes. This is a Stampin' Up Hexagon punch, but you can get other ones elsewhere. So you just cut out shapes of paper and then you cut a hexagon out of the card itself and drop a little hexagon shape down in that spot, and you can stamp your sentiment there, or you could put another design there or leave it, put your sentiment on the inside, and then you just drop a little ribbon right there. So all right, so that's it for me today. Thank you all for watching and hanging out with me for a while. I appreciate it. I will be back next Friday with another coffee, craft, and chats, or whatever it is I'm calling it. Depending on what I'm doing, we might do a little bit of project, a little bit of sale. I don't know. We'll kind of see how that goes. And then I'll be scheduling another actual sale show soon. So hope you all have a great day. I will talk to you all later. Bye. Oh, let's go raid somebody. We should go raid somebody. Who should we go raid? Let's see. Who is on right now? Let's find a new seller. Nope, no new sellers. So let's go 18668. Let's go raid. We're gonna go raid Moody Virgo Arts. Yellow hearts in the chat when we hop into this raid. Thank y'all. Bye.